Alright, today I hope I have enough battery here to get through my project here, but I got a photograph for my collection, and he's like, well, what collection is this? So you've been talking about PBS all the time, and I was like, I know. But we've got NET in the background. Now, for those of you who don't know, NET dissolved, or I say dissolved, but kind of disappeared in the early 70s, but you would still see it on episodes of Mr. Rogers. If you see the zoom up of the building in the background, it'll say NET. Sometimes they had, I don't know if they had it blocked off in later years or removed, but Mr. Rogers on during when PBS was called National Educational Television Network, so NET. And this is the exact same roof line and antenna that Mr. Rogers had on his little building for his, kind of train set or trolley set, the cityscape or whatever that was built. And they changed and moved building around every once in a while and changed the cars and that sort of thing. But that's where you would see this. But if you were alive in the early 70s or before, then you would see NET logo, and that's just one of them. Now we want to go to a couple other things here really quickly here. There's Historic Images Entertainment. I know I bash them all the time for doubling the prices of things, but they have auctions as well, and sometimes. And so they start things out at $9.99. They had 1,600 plus results that ended in auction, and this is the completed listings, and only 30 of those sold. Only 30 out of 1,600 plus results have sold. They need to do something other than trying auctions. If you've only sell 30 out of over 1,500 plus pictures, that's crazy. So you just might as well just maybe, if you want to get $9.99, and out of those 30 it looked like everybody was the one bidder and one bidder only, because you're like already at $15 for a photograph. If it was not by auction, then it'd be closer to $20, and so on and so on and so on. So there's only one picture that I wanted, and I have that. I'm going to show you one other thing here. They have logo compilations, dedicated to National Educational Television. There's several of them. This one has 38,000 views, and there's 41 minutes and 22 seconds of variants of the National Educational Television logo. We'll just, go by and I'll just show you a couple more of them here. That's an old film there, and then we go to another old film there, so you get the idea there. But then when we get to the Mr. Rogers era here, or somewhere in between that here, we got variants of NET, and there's one right there. It looks like they just took some sort of carpet or fabric, and then they just, took some sort of mending tape or something and put that on there and made a thing out of there. And that's how basic their logo was. So let's show you without further ado. I've started ripping that open, but I haven't ripped it up 100%, so I haven't seen my photograph so far. This one dates to 1957. Yes, public television goes even farther back behind that. I tried doing some research on the photograph, and I could find virtually nothing about this. So I'll have to do some little future homework on here. It's very hard for me to find anything that refers to the older PBS stations. Very, very difficult to find anything. Here's my sheet, which we don't care about. $14.98 was spent here. They always put it in these two pieces of cardboard, which seems to work well enough here. And good. I want to make sure we get the right kind of photograph. There's all kinds of tape and press markings and all kinds of stuff there. Again, there's the Historic Images sticker on there, which I like to remove so no future damage gets to or prevent some damage there. Again, let's not damage the front of it there. So let's look at the back. Actually, let's look at the front of it first here. It's a guy that looks like a presenter or a journalist here. Excuse me for the light at this time of day here. And he's got an old-fashioned vintage type of globe there. Just screams 50s right there. Very, very 50s with the, the map in the background and everything. So it's not the most stunning photograph, but it's what I could get and what I could afford. And it mentions nothing about NET on the front here. And then on the back of it, there's all kinds of markings. This says February 14th, 1957. Again, there is the Historic Images sticker there with a bunch of old tape on there. And this tape has been taped over again by somebody, who that was, I don't know. And it says Carter Davidson, and I can't read that, executive something of the Chicago Council on Foreign Relations, is host for the something National Educational Television series, America Looks Abroad. And there's something else there. And it says Thursday, it looks like Thursday at 8. Something over KUHT, so that's KU Houston, Texas, I believe. Now, why do I have a Houston photograph of this? Because they got lots of stuff from Houston. So I'm only limited to the historical images, what newspapers, archives that they purchased. So they were like in Houston, Chicago, and there's a Boston one, I think, and I don't know whatever else. I think they might have gotten some from the Oregonian as well. And so on international organizations, the other Americans making foreign policy, Davidson is a former Associated Press correspondent in Europe and the Middle East. So that's pretty interesting there. And there's some sort of, so Houston Post is what's covered up by tape there. And then something written in pencil there. And again, very, very well used on the back picture. This is slipped at one time. You can see where the tape was, and then they had to retape it. Now, whether that was recently or a long time ago, I don't know. And the historic images stickers usually peel off with very, very good success rate, but again, it's not like I want to just destroy something like a James Spence sticker would, and it's peeling off here. And again, we don't know how long these have been on here, because I have to figure out when they purchased the Houston Post archives, and that can give me an idea of how long that sticker's been on there. Again, I take these off because this does not add to the history, and also you have to be very careful because there's a tiny little rip there. So at the very end of the sticker, I left a little rip there, but that just adds to my stupidity there. But you can see the sticker came off 100%, and at the very end there, you may not be able to see it, but there's well, I don't know which side it was because it's stuck to the back of it, but one of these sides just had a tiny little rip on it. So that's just good to get that off of there, and then always double checking that there's no remnants on there from the the sticker there, because those remnants, I'll go over it with very carefully with an eraser, making sure I don't erase where I ripped it. But again, I couldn't figure out who Carter Davidson is. I had no idea. Again, I was very happy, even though it was $15, to save at least $10 on that. And if it had been any more than $10, I would have looked for a different photograph, because there would be no reason to grab this particular random one there. Again, it's just kind of an interesting little tidbit of history to my collection here. I have my binder here, and I'll just show you what I'll do. And I'll just throw this in my binder, and it's my first what I would call NET photograph. Now, they had something called NET Playhouse and other programs that had that logo built into their programming. So you will get photographs that basically have come after the NET program has since dissolved. And I saw NET recently somewhere. I'm not exactly sure. So that name is still kind of floating around there. But I just throw it in the first page that I have access to right there. So I'll write up something with it a little bit, and again, you can look up KUHT. I wanted to show you, there's a really cool, I wanted to do this here, if I can go to KUHT history. So we also have KUHT history, logo history. There's a really cool one. You would have to go see that for yourselves, because I don't have speakers on this computer here anymore. But there's an old creepy one from the 1950s with some sort of weird signal in the background, kind of like, or a space kind of age sound, and they show their headquarters. If I can get to it. It might be in this particular one if I can show that to you. Again, I don't have the ability to show you sound anymore because I don't have speakers. They're all in here, and I got rid of some speakers which didn't have the right controls and stuff on it. If I could get some computer speakers that have, the outside controls where you can change the volume, and you can also, change the, but the copyright, this stuff and sort of thing. Yeah, see, so this one here, the KUHT building. So that, more than likely, this photograph was housed probably in this particular building at some point, maybe. I don't really know, or came from this particular direction. We don't know exactly where that came from. But it was used for newspaper, production there. And you'd have to see that one for yourself. So just go to Houston, Public Media, KUHT logo history, and you'll find that kind of, kind of weird, kind of like old computer age sound. It's very, very creepy looking. And I'm going to make a copy of that for myself just to have to play around with. But anyway, that's pretty much it. It's not very exciting. That was the only only piece of mail that came in outside of coupons and other, normal advertisers. But, for it to be a Monday and actually have only one piece of mail is kind of shocking. I have other things on the way. I've got some baseball cards coming. I just ordered 6 hockey cards for $6. Those are going to be going off to TTM, but I need some help for those because I've got a couple of ones that need to go to Canada. And unfortunately, every time I want to go send off my Canada stuff, there's some sort of postal strike or something. So I don't know what to do. And then I'm trying to figure out what it costs because I'm finding people saying it's $1.75 and whatever, this and this and this. And so I'm getting my Canada envelopes started, but I can't find the rest of my Canada posters that's floating around here. I would much rather overpost them than underpost them, if that makes sense. And again, I got this one to go out at some point. Gary Saborin, I think he's in Canada, and I found this card here in my binder, and I found this one here elsewhere, and I think I ordered both of those. This one was for my set, and then this one here I think I just ordered because. So happy to have those. And the other hockey ones are just going off to USA, and then I said I had some baseball cards on the way. Unfortunately, and it always takes a while for those to get here, and they're going to be more or less more minor league cards, but there's some Hall of Famers in there as well too that aren't minor leaguers. So I think I got a heck of a deal on that. It's always, a question, do you want to buy 8 billion cards from this particular seller because they're so dirt cheap? Or do I just want to kind of call it quits and just, so I don't want to overdo stuff even though it's only like a small order and I want to, I just don't want to, because I got so many irons in the fire, I want to kind of keep an even keel on things. Just because you want something / need something does not mean you need to get it right at that particular moment. But again, some of the cards end up being practically free the way the shipping went and all that stuff. So very happy about that one. And then I've got some other stuff coming up here. Hopefully I can make a video on Saturday or Sunday, but we'll just see what we can do with that one. But hope everybody has a great week, and thank you for watching.